All right, everybody. So it looks like we're going to get started. My name is Melanie Garete. I'm the Climate Resilience Manager at the Mystic River Watershed Association. And today we're joined by Kappa Strategies and the Museum of Science. And we're going to talk to you and train you on how to collect extreme heat data and air quality data in the Mystic River Watershed. Next slide, please. And so just so you know, this meeting is being recorded. None of you will be on it. It will just be us here at the team chatting away. And this will be available along with the slides after the meeting, so you can always go back to it. And so for today, we're going to start off talking about Mystic River Watershed Association's general climate resilience efforts. And then we're going to go into two parts of the training. So training part one will be on air quality, logistics, like where to pick up, where to drop off, and then some social media strategies that we'd like you to use. And then training part two is going over the temperature sensor refresher. So some of you were part of the training back in June, and so that will be a refresher for you. But if anybody did not take part of the June training, please do stay on, as this is one of the main parts of this project. And then also talk about how you can collect data on your own time and tell your friends to do that if they can't join you in collecting the air and temperature data. And then we'll open it up for questions. And so just to give you a little bit of background, if you're not familiar with the Mystic River Watershed Association, we are an organization that focuses on restoring and protecting the entirety of the Mystic River watershed. And so from the land to the water, and then all the inhabitants, including people, and of course, flora and fauna that we love so much. Next slide. And so we are about 76 square miles. It sounds large, but it's actually quite small. It's the size of Amsterdam or the size of Brooklyn. And the Mystic River watershed as a whole is the area of land that drains into the Mystic River. And so we serve 21 communities and over half a million people. Next slide. We focus on water quality, greenways, education, restoration, and stewardship. And one of our newest programs is climate resilience. So in the face of climate change, we're working to make sure that people and nature are resilient and are able to adapt with this changing climate. And so to this effort, we have established the Resilient Mystic Collaborative, which I co-facilitate. Working with 20 out of the 21 municipalities within the Mystic River watershed, and we're working together instead of being separated on climate resilience issues. So climate change really doesn't know municipal boundaries, and it's better for us to work together rather than working individually. And next slide, one of our main working groups is the Social Resilience Working Group. And so typically in the climate change and climate resilience world, we talk about just nature or just the built environment. So just protecting salt marshes or just protecting our buildings and roads. And we forget that people also live here and need to enjoy nature or get protection from buildings. And so we're working to bridge that gap and make sure that nature, that our built environment and our social environment are also protected. Next slide. And so one of our main campaigns, and excuse my dog barking, is our Wicked Hot Mystic campaign that Sarah from the Museum of Science will talk to you more about now. Sarah?
Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Benson. I work for the Museum of Science, and I'm going to talk to you today about the Wicked Hot Mystic project. And as Melanie introduced, we're going to start off going over a little bit of overview and then our air quality work. And then at the end, we'll talk more about the temperature and heat mapping portion of it. So if you have not come to any trainings before, please stay for the duration of the training. It should only be an hour, maybe less. But if you have already heard the temperature sensor portion, you could drop off. However, we definitely recommend that you stay on and just get a nice little refresher before heat mapping day, which is going to be this Thursday. So this project is in collaboration with a lot of people. So the Museum of Science, Mystic River Watershed, Town of Arlington, and Resilient Mystic Collaborative. It's also funded through a Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Grant. And we do have additional partners who are on the call today that I will introduce later on in the night, from Kappa Strategies and also NOAA Climate. So what is this project that we're doing? I've been saying heat mapping and all of that, but what is it? So we are basically heat and air quality mapping the entire Mystic watershed that Melanie just introduced to us. So we have three main goals of this project. The first goal is community engagement. So if you came to any of our past trainings, maybe our Instagram Live or sauce tabling this weekend, we're just really trying to get out in the community and teach everyone about heat as a whole. The training today is focusing on that second bullet point, the high resolution temperature and air quality data. And the third part of this project is going to be, once we get that data back, doing data visualization and communication. So once we do the heat mapping process, we are of course going to let you know about what the data is and what we found, but then we're also going to take it a step further and we're going to layer these maps with a lot of different factors around heat, such as tree canopy temperature, income level, elderly population, maybe emergency room visits, and also we're able to find those hot spots. So this project is all about urban heat island mapping. If you have not heard of that before, the urban heat island effect is that cities are much hotter than the surrounding towns. However, satellite imagery really shows us that cities as a whole are hot, but this project is trying to get down to that neighborhood level to really see where are the actual hot spots within the city. So there are additional little heat islands that occur within a city, and this really helps us to understand where we need to focus resources, where we need to maybe plant trees, cool that area down. On top of that, with this data, we're able to understand what neighborhoods and people are most impacted. Different populations are more vulnerable to heat, and this data helps us understand some of the disparities that we see from extreme heat in our communities. So the urban heat island mapping is happening this summer. We're the campaign organizers are Museum of Science in Boston and also Mystic River. And again, we're collecting air temperature, humidity, and air quality data. I will mention again that air temperature is ambient air temperature, which means that that's the air that we breathe and feel. A lot of our temperature maps are surface temperature data, which would be what to touch, which can show up a lot hotter than the actual temperature that we're feeling. This data goes down to the neighborhood level, so we're actually able to see the differences in temperature at the same time of day within one municipality, or in this case of this project, 21 communities in the Mystic. So our heat mapping day, if you are in communication with us, you might have known it did get moved to Thursday. The reason for that is we really want it to be one of the hotter days in the Boston area, which would be over 90 degrees. Also, we really want to stay away from rain because it can damage the sensors. So unfortunately, yes, tomorrow looks like it's going to now be rainy and a little cooler, but Thursday is going to be our day. It's going to be hopefully over 90 degrees. And so we have 20 car sensors and 2 bike sensors, and we have almost 1 route per town. This is a 2-day campaign. So day 1, we will be mapping 3 times during the day, 6 to 7 a.m., 3 to 4 p.m., and 7 to 8 p.m. And then on day 2, we're going to map at 6 a.m. again. And that's because of another factor of the urban heat island effect. Urban heat is something that is actually happens overnight as well. So we think about heat being during the middle of the day, we see things get much hotter, but in cities, something happens where at night it actually stays a lot hotter than other areas because we don't have those things that help to cool the area down, like trees, water bodies, or other cooling factors. Instead, cities are made up of concrete and asphalt and buildings that trap that heat during the day, and they release that back out at night. So if you have ever noticed or lived in the downtown areas or lived in a city, you may notice that temperature doesn't seem to go down as much overnight as well. So that hopefully that second mapping day will help us understand what areas cool down or do not cool down overnight. So now I'm going to go over into a little bit of the logistics of what's going to be happening. The picture on the left, you can see that each polygon was then, we created a route that you drive within each polygon. And so we will be giving you all of these routes. Everything that I'm saying right now is going to be given in a very lengthy email. So don't try to memorize everything. We will give this to you written out, but this is so that I can talk with everyone through it today. So you will be picking a package up of all of these materials. And also remember that you have to drop all this back off to us. So make sure that everything is back in that kit when you drop it off. But the things that you'll be picking up are an air quality sensor, the heat mapping sensors. There will be chargers for both of those equipment. And then you'll get a folder, and the folder is going to have a ton of stuff in there. It's going to have a magnet for your car that says Science in Motion. And I'll explain why that might be important in just a bit. Step-by-step route directions, how to use both sensors, social media examples and messaging that you can post to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you'd like. A little bit about our current COVID protocols and the emergency contacts to contact if you have any issues during your route. So pick up and drop off of the sensors. Like I said, everyone is going to be emailed which of these 20 routes, driving routes or 2 bike routes they will be doing. So again, no need to memorize this, but most of the routes you'll be picking up at the Mystic River Watershed office, which is in Arlington. And the pickup times for the sensors are going to be this Wednesday from 12 to 2 p.m. and from 4 to 7 p.m. So we'll give you more information again in that email of who to contact and where you'll be picking up your sensor. If you're driving routes 15 through 20, you'll be picking that up at Museum of Science. That is located on the Boston-Cambridge line on One Science Park. You can pick that up on Wednesday from 12 to 7 p.m. And you can pick it up in the lobby or the bottom level of the garage. The bottom level of the garage, if you're driving, was probably much easier than picking it up in the lobby. You're able to just grab the ticket to go into the parking garage, stay on the bottom level, don't go up, do a nice little circle, and then I'll give you the phone number to call to pick up the sensor. And then if you're in the parking garage for less than 30 minutes, it is free. So then you just put your ticket back in and then you're able to go out. Drop off of the sensors will be on Friday. You can drop them off from 9 to 6 p.m. Either at Myra or Museum of Science. We can accommodate up to 7-ish, but it is a Friday. So, 6 p.m. is great. But of course, we'll be in contact with you on when's the best time to drop off the sensors as well. So a quick note on COVID-19. If you did help us with this project in 2019, or you're a little confused on what's happening, we decided that data collection and CAPA strategies help to decide that it is best that the driver navigator team is composed as the same member of the same household, or just members of the same household. Or someone who is in your COVID bubble who you're comfortable with. So if you did fill out the availability form, if you're either a driver or a navigator, we recommend that you help us and find your own navigator or driver who you are comfortable being in a car with. So due to COVID, we really want to make sure that we're being safe. And unfortunately, in a car where your windows are closed, it's very hard to social distance. So we really hope that you can have someone with the same household. When you pick up the sensors, they're going to be an individually wrapped parcel. So everything will be in its own plastic bag. And when you return them, you can wipe down the sensors, but please don't spray them. They are sensors and they are water sensitive. So please don't get any moisture inside of either of the sensors, the air quality or the heat mapping sensors. So feel free to wipe them down just a little bit so that they're not getting wet. Okay, so now into more of the nitty-gritty logistics of what these actual sensors are and what we'll be doing. So one of the components that we are doing this year is air quality mapping. So this is a picture of the air quality sensor. It is AirBeam by Habitat Map. It's a brand new generation of sensors that they just developed. This is the third iteration of them that came out in June. So we're really excited to be able to use these sensors. You will be using these sensors on your car with the heat mapping sensors. And so they will both gather data along the same routes at the same time. And so CAPA and our other campaign organizers will help to integrate this data with the heat map. So not only are we getting high quality heat mapping data, but also air quality data. These sensors measure a lot of things. They measure all the different types of particulate matter. However, we are going to be mostly focusing on PM 2.5. So here is the air quality protocol. This will be emailed to you and also printed out in your packets. So this is what the sensor looks like. You can see on the screen. So what you're going to do is you are going to first take the sensor out of your bag and you will bring it outside right before your route. So about 10 to 15 minutes before you start your route, which should be right on the hour that you start, you're going to get both sensors out and you're going to turn them both on. I'm going to go over the heat mapping one in a second, but now I'm focusing just on the air quality one. So make sure you're kind of in a view that's clear, a clear view of the sky because it needs to get its GPS signal. So if you're in an area with a lot of trees or high buildings, it might be harder to get your GPS signal. You can see right here, if you look on the screen, there is a rectangular white power button. You just press that in to turn on the AirBeam. You will get an indicator light that will turn solid green and stay green. That means that it's looking for its GPS signal. So once it starts to flash yellow, that means it's looking for its GPS, and then it's going to flash orange, as you see here. And although I know yellow and orange seem very similar, you will notice the difference in the color. And that means that your GPS is fixed and you're good to go. So you're going to put it on your car window. It's actually going to be flipped of what you see of this picture here, but there's a clip on it, so you don't really have to do anything. Just clip it onto your car window, roll your window up as much as you can, make sure that it's nice, tight, and snug. And you will just start driving. At the end of your route, you're going to stop the vehicle. You'll turn off the AirBeam by pressing that same power button again, and then holding onto the sensor, lower your window and carefully take it out of your window. So on top of that, as the navigator, we are asking that as you're driving, if you can try to locate potential pollution sources. This will help us to identify when we see either large spikes or try to understand what it was if we see those interesting dips in the air quality sensors in the PM particles. So just make any general observations. It doesn't have to be fancy. So some example sources of pollution could be if you're passing a construction site, a smokestack, you're passing the MBTA or trains, the buses, any large trucks or construction trucks, or if you're driving in East Boston, if you pass the airport. You get these step-by-step directions in your folder, so they're already printed out for you. There is another way to get the directions on your phone as well, which we will email to you how to do that. So as you're looking at your step-by-step directions as the navigator, we ask that you just put a little star and you say train, bus, whatever is easiest to do as you're helping the driver navigate. So for example, let's say that you're on Presidential Way and you see a smokestack, just do a little star and press and say smokestack. Again, that will just help us know what areas of pollution might have caused some interesting differences in our air quality data. So now I'm going to go into the heat mapping data, heat mapping protocols. Again, if you've already been to one of our past events. You can drop off if you'd like. However, I would highly recommend staying to get a little refresher on how exactly to use these sensors. But these sensors are developed by Kappa Strategies. And so we do have someone from Kappa on today. And so I would love for them to introduce themselves and talk a little bit more about Kappa.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joey Williams, and I'm the program manager of the Kappa Heatwatch program, Kappa, which stands for Climate Adaptation and Planning Analytics. And we have been conducting assessments like these around the country in North America for the last 4 summers. And so you all are part of a larger effort to get a better grasp on heat, heat distribution in our urban environments and how they affect communities. Happening simultaneously in many places around the country this summer. So I really want to emphasize that we couldn't do this without you. It's really a unique effort in that we're able to bring in so many, thankfully, interested folks to carry out this campaign. And without your attention and your efforts and your energy to do this, we wouldn't be able to uncover this important information that Sarah and Melanie have been describing will be used to better address heat resilience in Boston and Mystic River. And also just shout out to the museum and the Mystic River watershed team on figuring out how to also incorporate air quality monitoring into this, a really unique process for us this year and something I think will be highly valuable to the communities as well. So thanks for juggling 2 devices at once and figuring all that out here, and I would be glad to answer any kind of technical questions that you might have, things with the sensor or the method or what have you. So, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Joey. So Joey will be on for the rest of the webinar, so don't be afraid to type in the chat some questions, and then at the end we'll have time for some Q&A too. And yeah, good point, Joey. I am not going into the methods on how they help to create these heat maps. So if you're interested in that, feel free to ask questions in the chat about that.
Yes, and then one more point before you move on, Sarah, that I just put in the chat. We're going to go over this with the temperature sensor collection, but we just want to mention again verbally that once you put on your sensor, whether it's air quality or the temperature sensor that will be going on at the same time, you must make sure to leave that on and leave your window closed the entire time. If you roll down your window, the sensors could fall off, especially if your car is moving. And so Karen suggested to put your lock on, your child lock on. So that's a great suggestion. If you need to put tape, if you need to do whatever you need to do to make sure not to roll down your window. These sensors are our little babies for the next few days. So please do take care of them. Thanks, Sarah.
Yes, thank you. Very good point. Okay, so now we're going to watch a little bit of this video that explains about the heat mapping, and then I will go over some more logistics about what we will be doing.
You're thinking like a climate scientist already. With the context set, let's next get into the details of the campaign and the important roles you'll play in helping to identify hotter and cooler spots across your region. Step 1. Prepare. The step you're now beginning as part of this training is prepare. Here, you'll learn about the polygons and routes. In order to map heat across an entire region, your campaign's overall study area has been split into multiple sub-areas, or polygons, as we'll refer to them. Each of these polygons contains a diverse set of land covers, such as parks, commercial centers, residential developments, and schools. Because the particular land cover at a location strongly influences the amount of heat that is felt there, collecting many data points across a variety of land covers will help inform the predictions of heat across the full study area. In data lingo, this way of selectively collecting data is called sampling, and means that we don't need to gather information from every square inch of the polygon in order to make predictions about temperature and humidity across the entire area. You will be sampling the set of land covers in your polygon by transporting data collection equipment along pre-planned routes or traverses over 3 individual hours throughout the day. To help in this task, you may serve as a driver, navigator, or bicyclist. If driving, you'll be paired into teams of 2 people, 1 driver and 1 navigator. Navigators will help the driver travel safely by directing turn-by-turn directions along the route. Drivers and navigators are welcome to switch roles between morning, afternoon, and evening routes. Bicyclists, on the other hand, are asked to memorize their route ahead of time or plan stops to check their map, as navigating and bicycling at the same time is advised against for the sake of safety. Bicyclists are also asked to take special care of their health as they'll be outside exercising in hot weather. More on that later. Across all these volunteer roles is the responsibility to be safe and adaptive while traversing your routes. For an assortment of reasons, you may need to stray from your plan while driving or bicycling. We will discuss how to handle these adjustments later, though want to emphasize the importance of being flexible when needed throughout the campaign. Whether driving, navigating, or bicycling, your campaign organizer will reach out to you after this training to assign polygons and driving routes, as well as to coordinate teams of drivers and navigators. If you have the extra time, you might practice driving or bicycling your route prior to campaign day to familiarize yourself with the turns and traffic patterns. After this training, you'll also need to sign the Heatwatch volunteer waiver in order to participate. Step 2. Activate. In this step, your organizer will confirm the date of the campaign and coordinate when and where you can pick up your equipment. As your tentative campaign date approaches, your organizer will be paying close attention to the weather forecast and keeping an eye out for the ideal high heat, clear skies day. Once this is determined, they'll send out an email confirming the date or advising backup plans, as well as advising a time and location for you to pick up your equipment. Your equipment package will consist of several items: your data collection unit, a charging cable, a wall adapter, and a car adapter. Because our process relies on reuse, all of these materials are required to be returned to your organizer in a timely fashion after completion of your campaign. The package also contains a bumper magnet to be affixed to your rear bumper, letting other drivers know that you are on an important mission for science. If you plan to keep thinking like a climate researcher, you are welcome to keep the bumper magnet as a token of our appreciation. Otherwise, please return the magnet to your organizer along with the rest of your equipment after the campaign. Now we'll learn about how to install and operate your data collection equipment. The equipment is made up of a temperature and humidity sensor attached to a neck that houses the data transfer wires and the body containing the battery and data storage. The equipment should be assembled, sterilized, and charged when you pick it up. Once you've arrived at the beginning of your route and are parked in a safe spot, turn on the sensor and wait for the blinking green light to turn solid. This is how you know if the GPS is tracking. If it takes more than 10 minutes, move to another location and try again. With the sensor set, roll down your passenger side window, fit the window into the slot of the device, and roll up the window until the device feels stable and secure. Keep your window rolled up for the duration of your route. A blinking red light indicates 30 minutes of battery life remaining, and a solid light indicates 5 minutes remaining. If your sensor needs charging, simply plug it into the car charger provided. Step 3. Execute. It's campaign day. On the designated campaign day, you'll be driving with the equipment along your same route 3 times, typically 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., and 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. These times are generally seen to exhibit the most consistent weather of all daylight hours. Here is the general schedule for campaign day. At least 15 minutes prior to the first traverse, arrive to the starting point of your route, park in a safe location, and turn on and install your data collection equipment. At the top of the hour, begin to follow your route. Our software will later remove any data collected before the start of the hour, so there's no advantage to getting a head start. In order for equipment to make the most accurate measurements, vehicles should be moving under 35 miles per hour. All driving routes are designed to avoid highways and fast-moving roads, but if you find yourself on a road with a higher speed limit than 35 miles an hour, you may try driving in the right lane or turning on your hazard lights to indicate you are intentionally moving slowly. Driving safely is the most important, so if you need to move with the flow of traffic, please do so. Conversely, if you hit traffic and slow down, that's okay too. Also, look for and be sure to avoid low-hanging tree branches or other obstacles that might catch or knock the equipment from its position. Remember to never roll down the window while moving. It may be tempting for the Navigator to take a picture out the window, but equipment can easily fall and be damaged if not secured properly at moving speeds. If you find a part of your route is blocked or has a designated detour, do your best to get back on track when you can, and follow the same path in your remaining routes. Again, your safety is most important, and more likely than not, you will be collecting usable data that will sufficiently describe your polygon's temperature distribution. If you finish the planned route early, you can continue to drive within your polygon until the end of the hour, though do try to avoid repeating parts of your route or crossing over locations you've already visited. If there is the unlikely event of rainfall or any form of precipitation during your traverse, you should immediately pull over and bring the equipment inside the vehicle, or inside a bag if you are on a bicycle. If bicycling, be sure to monitor and take care of your health by drinking plenty of water, wearing sunscreen, and stopping to rest as needed. A full list of health considerations for bicyclists is available in your electronic volunteer folder. At the end of the hour, pull over at a safe location and uninstall the equipment. Once you're fully stopped, remove the device and store it in a cool, dry place, and plug into a charger if necessary. The equipment's battery life is roughly 10 hours on a single charge, and needs just 1 hour of charging to be fully restored. Repeat the above process for the afternoon and evening traverses in the same manner. After the last traverse, or on the following day, please return all equipment at the time and location designated by your organizer. Again, you are welcome to keep the bumper magnet if you would like to. If anything unexpected occurs during your traverse, like issues with the equipment, mishaps with the timing of your traverse, or rain, please be sure to convey these notes to your local organizer, who will provide a report to the data analysts. For any issues on the day of your campaign regarding equipment, technical issues, scheduling, or logistics, reach out to your campaign organizer directly by phone. Way to go! You've just served as an integral part in better understanding and preparing against extreme heat in your city. Step 4. Follow-up. The last step in your rule is to engage with the results of your campaign. After your equipment is received, CAPA will begin analyzing the many tens or even hundreds of thousands of measurements collected by campaign volunteers. They will produce traverse point maps for each of the 3 campaign hours, such as these, showing the hotter and cooler points along your route amongst the other routes driven by your fellow volunteers. Analysts will also create area-wide predictive surface models for each of the 3 campaign hours, as seen here. CAPA will share the results and summary of the campaign directly with your organizer, who will then plan the release of results to media outlets and the volunteer team, typically 6 to 8 weeks following the day of the campaign. Taking a look at the maps of your traverse points and the predictive area-wide surfaces, you might consider, did the places I expected to be particularly hot show up as so? Were cooler spots as expected? What surprises did you see? And do you have any guesses as to why they might appear as warmer or cooler? Jot down your answers to these questions to share with your team. Once you've had the time to review the outputs and reflect, please take a few minutes to share your experiences, what you learned, and suggest ways for us to improve the Heatwatch program with us in our feedback survey. You are also encouraged to take photos throughout the campaign and share your Heatwatch experience on social media. You can engage with the Kappa team by tagging the program's Instagram or tweet us. If you're not on social media, you can upload photos directly to the electronic photos folder. We love to hear about your experiences, from your initial expectations of how heat is distributed in your city, to action shots during data collection, to reactions of seeing the results used in building resilience and climate adaptation. You can also use social media to keep track of Heatwatch programs and results in other cities around the US and world. As you're considering ways to use the information, the organizing team will be working with the Kappa team to further explore the data and implement the information into resilience efforts. Stay tuned for the opportunity to participate in future campaigns in your area, as your city team may be interested in tracking trends in heat over time. Here are your next steps as a campaign volunteer. These can also be found in your electronic folder. Complete the knowledge check found in the volunteer folder. This should only take 5 to 10 minutes maximum. Sign the electronic volunteer waiver. Your organizer will contact you to assign your polygon and driving route. Practice driving your route and review campaign materials, including rewatching this video as needed and reviewing volunteer facts. Pick up or receive your equipment at the time and location to be designated by your organizer. Confirm your availability once your campaign day is confirmed by your organizer. Arrive to starting point 15 minutes prior to your morning route on campaign day, and return 15 minutes before your afternoon and evening routes as well. Turn on and install your data collection equipment, waiting for a solid green light. Don't roll your window up or down until you've safely parked at the end of your hour. Drive or bicycle the same route at 3 designated times throughout the day. Return all equipment to the organizer and report any incidences. Participate in follow-up activities, like posting on social media and following future campaigns. If you have any additional questions, please reach out to your organizer through the contact information they've provided. Thank you so much for spending the time to learn about your important role as a volunteer data collector on this campaign. We couldn't do this without you.
All right, well, hopefully that gave us a ton of information about the heat mapping. There's only very few differences from the video. Due to COVID this year, again, you must be part of the same household for the driver and the navigator part of it. You may not be driving all 3 or 4 routes depending on availability. We are trying to make sure that's possible. It's much easier. However, we have a ton of volunteers who want to help out, and so we may be having some handoffs of sensors, hopefully in a safe way. We'll go over that too, depending on availability. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, we are adding that air quality sensor. Hopefully that's not too much to add. It's really just turning that sensor on and putting it on your window, making sure it's safe, just like the Kappa strategy sensor, and just driving around with it the same way. So this diagram is printed out in all of your folders. We'll also be emailing you all this information as mentioned in the video. So this is what these sensors look like. Just a couple of things to remember. Please start your, or get to your route, I should say, around 15 minutes before you start and turn the sensor on. It's really important that you start the route directly at the time that you are asked to start. Make sure that that light turns solid green, and that knows that the GPS has been located. The battery light will blink red, and if it's solid red, that means 5 minutes. So please plug it into either your car, or if you're about to be done, plug it in when you get back. As mentioned, the battery life, I think, is around 10 hours. So ideally, you should only be using it 3 hours of the day. So you really shouldn't have to charge it, but of course, keep an eye on that. And then the biggest thing, again, is don't roll down your window while you're moving. That can definitely cause the sensor to fall and break, and we do not want that to happen. For those who are helping us to bike, we have a video that will send you on how to mount and turn on the sensors, but it's pretty much the same thing. You just have a bicycle mount, which you can just take off this metal part, adjust it to your handlebar, make sure it's really tight, and you turn it on and off the same exact way. Okay, so to thank you for doing this project, we are offering everyone gift cards, every pair who completes a route. So we do have $25 gift cards for all of you. So you'll either receive that if you pick up the sensor or drop it off, depending on if you're the same person doing that or not. If you so happen to be doing a route from 3 to 4 p.m. and we don't see you, then we'll contact you on how to be able to pick up that gift card. So we just want to thank you for doing this work, and hopefully that helps to cover some of the gas and your time of doing this. Okay, so there is one other component of this project, and that is a citizen science project called I See Change. This is a free online platform or app that you can download to your phone, and it's all about investigating climate change in your area. I See Change can be used for any weather hazard. However, for this project, we're really encouraging people to post about extreme heat. So in order to post, you just create a free account. And you just start posting. You can post pictures, you can post observations, you can do both. Your data, your location is grabbed automatically from either your phone or computer, or you can set it to a different location. It's only ever going to show you your town or city that you're in. It's never going to share your exact location with any users. This app also directly inputs the temperature from the nearest weather station. But if you do have your own indoor or outdoor temperature sensors in your house, you can import that data as well. So here are some examples of posts from the past. You can see all the way on the left, it goes from helping city planners to understand what areas are really hot or where they think they can use some shade. You can just have fun with it. I love this middle post, our cat's favorite way to beat the heat. What's also cool about this app is you can have comment on things. So you can be really interactive with everyone who else is on the app and say like, oh, I love your cat, or that's a great idea, or whatever. And the last one is explaining areas where people go off to stay cool. So we really encourage you to post about areas that you think are warm, if your daily routine changed due to heat or air quality, areas you go in the Mystic to cool off, or really anything that you'd like to post about heat. This data will go straight to our city planners and town planners in the Mystic, so we're able to get that more qualitative data about the thoughts and feelings of how heat is affecting our day-to-day lives. So to sign up, just go to ichange.org online or download the app from the App Store and get started using it. So we're definitely encouraging that if you are helping us to heat map, that you can post in between your routes or right before you go, or if you cannot volunteer with us on the day or want to encourage other people in your community to be part of this project, this is a great way to get everyone involved. So we talked briefly about social media. We would love to see your posts on social media, either pictures of you holding the sensors or about to go, or whatever you really want to post. We would love to see it. So you can tag us, Mystic and Museum of Science, tag NOAA Climate, and then tag Kappa Strategies as well. So we included even more than this in a worksheet that we printed out and we'll email to you of different posts that you can do. So for example, like I'm in wherever you are today, tracking temperatures with us. It's hot outside today. Some hashtags you can use, hashtag extreme heat, hashtag wicked hot Mystic, climate change, climate crisis, air quality, whatever you'd like to do. Just make sure to tag us so we can see your post. And it's really fun to see what everyone's doing because as we mentioned, there's 20 routes going on at the same exact time. So it's really just cool to see what everyone is up to right at that time that you're mapping. So just going over some quick overview. If you are a driver, here are some of the things that you need to remember. Make sure to drive safely and obey the rules of the road. Try to stay between 5 and 35 miles per hour. It's of course okay to stop if you're in traffic or a stoplight or a stop sign, but try to keep that under 35. There was a great tip in the video that if you're going too slow for the area, you can try to put your hazards on or move over a little bit so that others can pass you. Again, the routes were chosen so that you don't go on highways or super fast roads, so it should be okay. Keep the route within an hour. If you do finish before the hour, you can keep driving a little bit. And of course, try to post to social media before and after the route, not while you're driving. And then the navigator. There is a navigator in the car with you. They will be giving the driver the step-by-step directions, either from your phone, which you can download to Google Maps, or from the printout that are in your packets. You're making sure those sensors are on, the lights are the way that they need to be, and they're secure, and making sure that you don't roll down the window. Record sources of pollution on your step-by-step directions. And then of course, before and after, post social media and I see change. So now we have a little bit of a quiz for all of you. As mentioned, we are asking at the end of this that you complete a knowledge quiz and sign a waiver before you start the route. But so these may or may not be on those knowledge quizzes. So I'm going to start by reading the questions, and I'd love for you guys to type in the chat what you think the answers are. So very first question, when will you be turning the equipment on? So feel free to type your answer in the chat. All right, 10 to 15, 15 before you start the route. Yes, good job. You will be turning the equipment on about 10 to 15 minutes before the start of the hour, before the start of the route. So we highly encourage you get to the starting point of your route 15 minutes before, get the equipment on, make sure that GPS is found, and then yes, thank you, Kate. Before installing it on your vehicle, you can do that, and then put it on that window and roll it up and make sure it's secure. So how do you know that the equipment is ready to use? This is the heat mapping equipment. Yes, Finn is right about, about the air quality equipment. It's orange, and the CAPA equipment, there you go, you guys were definitely listening, solid green light. And yes, the air quality equipment is the solid orange light, or the blinking orange light. I might just check that. All right, what does the red light on the CAPA equipment mean? Yep, you guys are all right. It is low battery. Blinking red is 30 minutes left, and 0 to 5 minutes means solid red. Definitely, if you're on a solid red, plug that into your car right away. All right, what speed should you drive? All right, 35, 5 to 35. Yep. Wow, you guys are really listening. 5 to 35. Again, it's okay if you have to stop, and it's okay if you go above for just a second, but really try to keep in between this so that we get the correct data that we want to collect. Okay, when you reach the end of the hour, what should you do? You finished your route, hour's ending. Yep. Oh yeah, thanks. I like to post to social media. You guys are all right. Safely stop your vehicle, turn off the equipment, and carefully uninstall it. And then yeah, we would love if you post to social media so we can see how it went and let others know that you're helping us heat map. Okay, so if you have any issues regarding the equipment, scheduling, or logistics, who should you contact? Yes, me. My local campaign organizer. So on all of your folders, there are 3 numbers. There is my number, Melanie's number, and then Joey's number from CAPA. We do, however, suggest, or please call either Melanie or I if you have any issues. If for whatever reason we do not pick up and we're not there, then you can call Joey, or if it's like really the sensor or something happening, then you can call. However, I will say Joey is on the West Coast. He's in Portland, Oregon. So if you're doing the 6 a.m. route, whatever you do, just do not call Joey at that time. But yes, call me, Sarah Benson, or Melanie, and our numbers are on your folders. We'll also be emailing you our numbers and emails before the campaign date as well. Okay, so thank you so much for being part of this. Again, here are our emails, and like I said, our phone numbers will be on the information that we'll send you over email and on the folder. But now we are happy to answer any questions that you may have about the campaign date, about the modeling, about the sensors, whatever questions that you have.
So I'll start us off with a few questions that have been put into the Q&A and the chat. So thank you everybody for putting those in. One question is, well, what are we doing with all of this information? So as I mentioned earlier, we're working with the Resilient Mystic Collaborative. And so we're working with municipal staff and change agents in order to actually use this data and implement it into our communities. And so it's very likely that environmental justice communities like East Boston, Chelsea, Everett, among others, will be the hottest areas that will need the most improvements. And so then after this project, we will make sure to visualize the data. And so put that map together, showing where all the hotspots are and the air quality are, the poor air quality spots are, and share it back to you and the rest of the community in order to figure out what are your priorities in order to implement change. And then we will work with the municipalities to gain funding, to create projects, to keep those areas cooler than they are now. So this information will be used, and I would pat everybody here, pat yourselves on the back for being part of this data collection, because it will actually impact change in the Boston area. So thank you for that question. Another question is the Charles River Watershed Association doing this project? Not to my knowledge, although we do cover some ground, some common ground within the area. So some of this data will also apply to parts of the Charles River watershed. I also suggest you, if you are working with students, you can use the IC Change app to document and take pictures and write information into that app. So that's a really good opportunity for schools. And then, like I said, we will be reaching back out to you all so you can continue to be involved in this project even after we collect data, because there's still a lot more to do after we collect this information. Another question is, will the using AC in the car actually have an effect on that data? Joey, do you want to answer that question? I already answered it in the chat, but you can go ahead.
Sure. Yep. No, don't have to worry about the air conditioning. Have your window all the way up, and that won't have any impact.
And then a related question, can people roll down the window that isn't attached to the air quality and air temperature data?
Sure. Yeah, just as long as can resist the temptation to hit the passenger or the back passenger side.
Perfect. Alrighty. And then I see a couple more questions. And so, do volunteers need to be available for all 4 time slots? So ideally, the same volunteer pair would do all of the time slots because it's the same transect. But if you're not available, it's okay. We're plugging in more volunteers, so it's not mandatory. And let's see, Sarah, do you want to take another question?
Yes. This one is, why are there no Somerville specific routes? I do believe one of the routes starts in a different city and ends in Somerville, but I'm going to have to double check that. So whenever you saw the routes from before, that was the starting point of it. Some of them end in a different city right next to it. So Somerville is going to be covered, and it will be covered in the modeling as well. Let's see, when will we know our routes and driving times? Hopefully tomorrow. Or Melanie, do you want to expand on that?
Yes, so we, as soon as you fill in your availability form, then we will be able to confirm all of that by tomorrow. at the earliest. And so we'll be sending, as Sarah mentioned, lengthy emails. So sorry, not sorry for that. But you will find out tomorrow. And then if you haven't filled out your availability form, we will just try to get that as soon as possible from you. So we'll be reaching out.
And on that same question, we have, how can I expand my location? Can do Chelsea and Everett. Email you, Melanie, is that best? Or Amy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can email me. I'll put my email in the chat.
Oh yes, David, the one in Somerville starts and ends at Museum of Science, so it's labeled as Cambridge, but it's technically pretty much all Somerville. Thanks for that. Let's see, I can only do 1 or possibly 2 time slots. That is of use. We definitely need some more people. This question as well, I can only cover routes for Thursday to Friday. We do not have enough volunteers yet. Well, we're still working on it. We're still importing all of your names into it, but happy to have more volunteers for sure. So definitely spread the word to anyone who might be interested. 1 to 2 time spots definitely works as well. So yes, Melanie just put that availability form in there again. So yeah, please fill that out for any availability that you may have. Remind you of the pickup times. Yes, I can put that up on this. Give me a second. Okay, I will put this back up for everyone. So this should hopefully answer. So yes, one of these routes in Cambridge is one that's actually Somerville, but it starts and ends at Museum of Science. So definitely a perfect spot to pick up your sensor. The pickup is going to be on this Wednesday from 12 to 2 or 4 to 7 at Myra, or 12 to 7 at Museum of Science, depending on which route you are assigned, which again, you will be getting those tomorrow. Drop off is going to be Friday at either location during working hours up till around 7 o'clock. So just let us know when you'll be dropping off the sensors. If people are doing a route, if you're doing only 1 time slot of a route, like if you are driving from 3 to 4, but you're not driving the morning or evening route, then there is going to be a little bit more coordination. We'll give you the emails of the people who are driving before and after you, so you can do a handoff of sensors in between your driving hours. We prefer or really hope that you use COVID protocols for this. So if you're doing a handoff, please wear a mask, or if you feel comfortable dropping it off at someone's home, you can put it in their mailbox or on their front step. And of course, make sure that they get the sensors, because these are very expensive equipment. So try not to leave it out in the open too long.
All righty. Well, thank you so much, everybody. And thank you for your availability. Thank you for also reaching out to at least 2 other people so that they can help you and help us, because we're still looking for volunteers. We really appreciate this time, and we will definitely be sending all of these lengthy emails to you shortly. I will put the knowledge quiz in the chat if you want to take it now, as the memory is fresh in your head. And part of the email that we will be sending out is a quick video, like day of, quickly, what do you do? So that way you don't have to watch this whole hour-long training.
And both the driver and the navigator needs to take the knowledge quiz and signed a waiver for us. And then quick question, what are the bike routes? It looks like Katie's typing them out. We have 2 bike routes. I don't remember where they are actually. Melanie, do you remember?
So one is, it goes through Arlington and North Cambridge, and then the other one cuts through Somerville and Cambridge, I believe. But if you signed up to bike, we will send that as well. So, all righty. Have a great evening, everybody. Take care.
Thank you all.